After a long time of waiting, finally we can say the playoffs are here. The best teams in the world are going to go at it for one prize, one opportunity at the NBA championship. This is going to be the hardest championship that anybody has ever won in the NBA. It's going to be tough. It's going to be grueling. There's not going to be a home advantage. We've got a lot to discuss, and let's discuss it right here in this video. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aiden Sports Show. Welcome back to another video. This is going to be an NBA Round 1 playoff predictions video. Now, I've made a predictions video way back when we didn't know the teams that would be in the playoffs. It was during the beginning of the lockdown period, of the shutdown of the NBA, and in the end there have been a few changes to that video that will be made in this one, as not every team in that video made the playoffs. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aiden Sports Show YouTube channel, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below which one of the teams do you think will make it out of round 1 that would be a sleeper. Someone that's not necessarily the favorite, but can also make their way out of the NBA Round 1 successfully. Let's see what happens, man. There are some good matchups here. Playoff basketball is the best basketball to watch. I don't care if there's going to be fans or no fans. Obviously, it sucks that there are no fans, but we're going to see the best play in high quality, high pressure situations. This is what the NBA is all about. It's never been about the regular season. As much as the regular season is important, it's for majority of us, it's the only basketball we get to see. But there are good teams in this playoff bracket that can surprise a few teams. But let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is the East. We're going to move to the East. It's only going to be round 1. I'm not going to do the next rounds or the round after that until it happens, until we know, just so this could be a little bit more official. Because if you want to know all of the teams that I predicted and who I think will win the championship, I made a video 3 months about it. Maybe it changes. Who knows? We're going to have to see how these playoffs go. But the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Orlando Magic. The Bucks have been very good in this bubble. Giannis got suspended for a game, and that was that didn't mean anything. But they're versing Orlando Magic. Now, the one thing the Orlando Magic are known for is taking games from good teams. So I don't see this being a sweep at all. Many people do. Many people say the Bucks should sweep the entire playoffs. I don't think that this is going to be a sweep. I think Orlando Magic have enough defensively. They're one of the better teams in the NBA. I think they have enough to take a few games from the Bucks. I'm going to say this: the Bucks are going to win in 6. That's what I'm going to say. Orlando are good enough to take games from them. They are. They've been like that for a while now, Orlando. But Milwaukee should be the clear favorites to win this. Even in Game 6, it should be fairly comfortable for them. The wins that they do take should be fairly high. And the losses they take will be upsets. That's how we're probably going to see this. I don't see this being a sweep at all, but you never know. Worse things have happened for the Milwaukee Bucks. We're going to have to see. But that is definitely the first pick I'm going to say. Milwaukee Bucks will win in 6 against the Orlando Magic, who are a good team in their own right. Next up, how things always seem fitting. The Indiana Pacers versus Miami Heat. I nearly said just Jimmy Butler. TJ Warren versus Jimmy Butler. These two have had beef for the entire season. They clearly don't like each other, and these teams do not like each other. This is the 4th and 5th seed, isn't it? And it's interesting, isn't it? This is going to be an interesting game. I'm going to say, look, I'm going to pick Miami. I think Miami will win this game. Will win this series in 7. The Indiana Pacers are good enough to beat Miami. Don't get me wrong. This is probably the toughest game to call out of a lot of the playoff picks, really. But you have to look at with Miami. They have more depth all around their team than Indiana. Indiana have a great starting 5 and a few bench players. They have good depth as well. I feel like Miami have all around better depth. That's just my opinion. I think in the end, when the playoffs come, you're going to need all your players to perform. The question is now, will Miami perform in the playoffs? That's the only question I can ask when it comes to Miami. Because a lot of their players are young. A lot of their players are players that you didn't really think would succeed, but they have succeeded. And they don't have much playoff experience besides Jimmy Butler, and Goran Dragic has made the playoffs, I think. but he's an experienced player, so he should be able to help them through it. Who else has really made the playoffs on that team? That's the big question mark. And who has done well in the playoffs on that team? There's a lot of question marks when it comes to the playoffs and the Miami Heat that we don't necessarily see with the Pacers, because a lot of the Pacers players have made the playoffs before. But will that make a difference? I think Jimmy Butler, who has probably the most playoff experience out of everybody in this conversation, will take them through. That he has to, man. He's the leader. He has always said that this team is capable of winning a championship. It's time to go out and prove it. I think this is going to be a very, very close series. 7 games. I'm picking the Miami Heat. I think Jimmy Butler will end up saving the Miami Heat. Next up, the Boston Celtics versus the Philadelphia 76ers. These two teams always seem to have competitive rivalries with each other, always seem to have competitive games, always seems to be in each other's faces, mocking each other when they lose and praising when they win. Look, if you have to be realistic, how big of a loss is Ben Simmons for Philadelphia? Ben Simmons, I believe, underwent surgery. I don't think he's going to be back anytime soon, if at all in the playoffs. So what is that loss going to do? Now, it's for me, this is a straightforward one. I am going to pick Boston. I think Boston will win in 6. Boston are just a great team all around. Look, their weakness is their big man. If Joel Embiid plays, then you have someone that could potentially be dominating the Celtics. But if Ben Simmons are not playing, then I think all around Boston have a better team, except for that center position. Even on the bench, you could arguably say, maybe besides Al Horford, if he comes off the bench, that Boston have a better bench. And in the end, that is going to be the big difference here. Will Boston make it all the way? It's going to be the big question. Will they make it all the way with the team that they have? Because Jason Tatum has had a tremendous season. Kemba Walker has had a tremendous season. Jaylen Brown has had such an underrated season. And then you've had Gordon Hayward, who's finally developing his shooting, and he's getting better and better. And in the end, I think they're going to be too much. They've already proven they can beat Philadelphia when they're healthy. When they're not healthy, things can really turn for the worse for Philadelphia. And I see Boston comfortably going through. The next game, and this one is very straightforward for me. This could potentially be a sweep. The Toronto Raptors versus Brooklyn. Now, when I made my playoff predictions video a few months back, I predicted that Kyrie and Kevin Durant will play in this game. But unfortunately, neither of them have, and not really anybody significant on their team except for Karis LeVert will be playing in this playoffs. So I'm picking the Raptors in 4. I think the Raptors will have to sweep. I don't see any excuse for the Raptors not to sweep this game. I know Brooklyn Nets still have a good mentality around their team. They've come close in several games in the bubble, but they're not a great team. And Toronto are a team that are expected to potentially make the finals. They are still one of those teams that could do it. So you have to sweep this team and send a message to the rest of the NBA. It's plain and simple, and that's the East. So just to recap the East, the winners that I have and the teams that will be versing. So, Milwaukee Bucks will beat Orlando Magic in 6, and they will be versing the Miami Heat, who will beat Indiana in 7. Those are my predictions. Philadelphia 76ers will lose to the Boston Celtics in 6, and they will be taking on the Toronto Raptors, who will sweep the Brooklyn Nets. Those are my predictions. Hopefully they reign true. Hopefully they're entertaining games. I love entertaining basketball, and I love playoff basketball, and both of them together should do very, very nicely. Next up, the West, and there's some banter in the West, isn't there? There really is. Seems like everybody in the West hates each other, and that's look, man, when it comes to playoff basketball, it's always entertaining to see personal games, something that really means something. It means something to these players, and that's all you can ask for. So the first off, we'll go from the Lakers and Portland. Now, Portland just made the playoffs yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, beating the Memphis Grizzlies in a very, very tough outing. In the end, Portland well and truly deserved to make the playoffs. Damian Lillard, my favorite player in the NBA. I have to say, Damian Lillard is my favorite player in the NBA. He's absolutely dismantled every single opposition in his way. He's dropped 50, he's dropped 60. He has well and truly taken this team. Yes, this team is more than just Damian Lillard, I understand that, but he's well and truly taking this team to the next level. And if he plays like this against the Lakers, then I can see real trouble on our hands. But the Lakers are one of the favorites to win it, and you can't bet against the Lakers. I'm picking the Lakers in 6. I think Damian Lillard will absolutely torment them. I really think he'll drop 50, 40 nearly every game. but I don't see that being enough to defeat the Lakers. The Lakers are a much better defensive side. They're a better rebounding side. Their quality off the bench is something left to be desired, but the same could be said for Portland as well. So I think matchup-wise, this should be a Lakers matchup in terms of the small forward, power forward, and center positions, or maybe even just the small forward and power forward. Anthony Davis and LeBron will make the difference in this, because if it was just the Lakers without AD and without LeBron, then Portland would sweep. It's as simple as that. But they have two of the best players in the world, and playoff LeBron is still something to be very, very fearful of. So I'm going to pick Portland, the Lakers in 6. I really do rate Portland, though. I have to admit, Damian Lillard is my favorite player in the NBA. There's no questions about it. Next up, we've got a rivalry game here. Very, very interesting, this one. We've got Chris Paul and the OKC Thunder in the 5th seed versus James Harden and Russell Westbrook, the Houston Rockets. Russell Westbrook is versing his former side. Now, the reason why this game is so interesting compared to all the other games in the playoffs is you have a situation where Chris Paul is versing his former side, Westbrook's versing his former side. It's going to be very, very interesting. The two teams that traded for each other in Rockets for Westbrook, and they required Chris Paul. It's going to be interesting. Now, this is tough. Look, the favorites are the Rockets, they are, but does not having a center will affect them in this game, because Steven Adams is one of the best centers in the NBA. It's going to be tough seeing PJ Tucker on Steven Adams, man. It is, and I think that could really be their downfall. I'm very proud of OKC, and the reason why is I saw a stat that said earlier in the season, NBA pundits predicted that it would be a 0.2% chance of the OKC Thunder making the playoffs. Not only have they stormed into the playoffs, they've made their claim and take the 5th seed. They're well and truly in the playoffs. That's what I'm proud of. And to be honest, I'm gonna call for an upset here. I really, really am. I'm calling for an upset. I'm gonna say the Oklahoma City Thunder will win this in 7. I really think that they have a chance to win this. I think that center position, maybe small ball, will work for the Houston Rockets. And to be honest, I hope they do, because I want to see James Harden finally get close and win something. I really, really do, man. I really rate James Harden. The guy needs to win something. But I am sniffing an upset here. I really am. Chris Paul and the OKC Thunder. Overall, do they have the better team? I would say no, but they have a very, very big advantage having a good rebounder and a good scorer in Steven Adams, a good player that can set screens. Chris Paul is the mastermind. Chris Paul is probably more determined than ever to prove his worth. The Thunder have something to prove, I think, more than the Houston Rockets. And I don't think Russell Westbrook will have the greatest time in this series. It's as simple as that. The playoffs and Russell Westbrook don't exactly fare well together. But in the end, things can change, man. I'm rooting for the Rockets, but I am picking OKC in 7. They, in my opinion, I've been extremely proud of the way that they performed this entire season. And I see them going one round further, man. Why not? Why not have Chris Paul versus LeBron in the next round, man? Next game will be the Denver Nuggets versus the Utah Jazz. I'm surprised the Utah Jazz finished as low as they did, but in the end, this is going to be an interesting game as well. Denver, to me, look a really dangerous threat. They really look like a dangerous threat. I don't see a lot of teams stepping in their way, but Utah is a good team in their own right. I do see this being a good win for the Denver Nuggets in 6 as well. At the end of the day, man, you need to look at things like how Jokic is going to play, how well their entire team is going to play, what type of basketball they're going to play, man. They have the death squad, man. They have, like, the starting 5 could be all 7-footers one game, and then there could be the normal starting 5. Denver have a lot in their arsenal to go and take this win. They have a lot of things to offer, and I don't see them getting eliminated this early. Now, Utah's a strange one, man, because I just don't really know what to expect from Utah. I really don't. I expect good defense. That's what I always expect. I don't see them being I don't see this being a comfortable victory for Denver. I do see a lot of their games being close. That's what Utah does bring. But do they have enough firepower? Do they have enough offensive ability besides Donovan Mitchell to get this? I don't think they do. I think this is going to be a win for Denver, and Utah will fall out. I think rightfully so. I think that's the best way to go. Last but not least, we've got the LA Clippers versus the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks are a feared team, man. don't sleep on the Dallas Mavericks. Even though I'm going to go against them here, this is a matchup that I said that would happen in the last video that I made, and it's happened. It's well and truly happened. Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis have been on fire, and they're going to take on Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and the LA Clippers. Now, I think for everybody's sake, we have to pick the Clippers. The Clippers are far and away the favorites. I'm going to pick the Clippers in 5. But Luka Doncic is a different animal, man. Don't be surprised if Luka Doncic takes a hold of this series by the throat and beats the Clippers. You never know, man. You can call for an upset anywhere in the NBA, especially when there's so many disadvantages for all teams involved. There is always a chance for Dallas to take an upset over the LA Clippers. But I think everybody is waiting to see that LA versus LA matchup, and for that reason, I am going to pick the LA Clippers, who are the better team overall, but they still have a lot of issues to work out, don't they, the Clippers? But when they get everything in line, when everything makes sense, when they versus the Lakers, man, if it happens, I don't think there's going to be one person that's going to be upset with seeing that matchup. And just to recap the West, I've gone with the first seeded LA Lakers to defeat Portland in 6. Moving on, they will be taking on the OKC Thunder, who beat the Houston Rockets in 7. Then we've got the Denver Nuggets and Utah. Denver will beat Utah in 6, and they will be taking on the LA Clippers, who beat the Dallas Mavericks in 5. That is my prediction for the NBA Round 1 predictions. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If I'm right, if I'm wrong, let's see where things go from here. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Have a wonderful and safe day. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.